All right, it's officially week 2 of college football. Today is Friday, September 8th, 2023. So obviously tomorrow we got week 2 coming up. We got some good games. Just wanted to bring you guys another show here and kind of preview the Youngstown State game for Ohio State and some other games that we got going on this weekend. So let's start. Let's go ahead and get into some Big Ten games this weekend that I'm interested to see how they play out. Obviously, when I do this, I kind of want to always cover Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. Those are, I think, the best 3 teams in the Big Ten. And then I like to throw in a couple of other games too. So let's start off with Penn State. Penn State played really well last week. Um, their first time starting quarterback, Drew Aller, looked like a beast, man. He was maneuvering the pocket well. He's not the best athlete, but he can maneuver the pocket and he can get the ball out. And with this a flick of a wrist, can get it down the field. So Penn State is going to be playing Delaware this week. I think they'll take care of business pretty easy. Probably get their running backs a lot of shake because just because they have really good running backs, and I'm sure they want those guys to be in the conversation for awards at the end. With Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, both solid running backs, both true sophomores. So look out for Penn State to run the ball, their defense to show up. I'm guessing Drew Aller is going to put up numbers, but they probably won't ask too much of him just because the opponent, they should win the game easily. Then the next game I wanted to talk about is Nebraska versus Colorado. Now, coming into the year, this game might not have been a game that most people would have cared about, but I think people are going to care about every single game that Colorado plays this year because what Deion Sanders is doing over there is crazy. He's doing everything his own way, and for me, I love it, man. If I had to pick my second favorite team this year, it would be Colorado. So I'm rooting for them, even though they're playing a Big Ten team. And I do like Nebraska. I like their quarterback Jeff Sims that they brought in from Georgia Tech, and I like him, but he didn't play too well last week, so I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see if their offense can be better. But I'm going to take Colorado to win that game. Actually, I wanted to give score predictions on all these games, so let me just step back. The Penn State versus Delaware game. I think Penn State's going to score like I don't know, probably like 50, 55 to maybe 7. They'll give up if that, maybe 55-0. I'll stick with 55-7. And then this Nebraska versus Colorado game, I think that Colorado is going to be able to score on Nebraska, and it's just a matter of is Nebraska going to be able to score on Colorado, which they might be able to. Nebraska played Minnesota week 1, who probably should be a better defense than Colorado. We'll see. So I'm going to pick the score of this game to be Colorado 38, Nebraska 24. We'll leave it at that for now. The next game is UNLV versus Michigan. I'm not even going to talk too much about this game. Michigan should win this. They'll probably win like 65-7 or something, I would imagine. They're a really good team, and I don't think UNLV is great. So we'll move on from that one. The next game that I have here is Iowa versus Iowa State, a little rivalry. I think that Iowa can pull this out. Both of these teams had really ugly wins in their first game versus not really good teams, so I don't expect a ton of scoring to happen in this game. I'm going to say Iowa wins this one, let's say 24-17. We'll leave it at that. And Iowa, that'll have them 2 games in a row where they're 1 point under the points that they told their offensive coordinator, Brian France, that he has to hit. I think he has to average 25 points a game to keep his job this year because their offense was so bad last year. So that'll be interesting if they score 24 in back-to-back games. All right, and then the next game here, as far as Big Ten goes, is Wisconsin versus Washington State. Washington State's one of those teams that I feel like can sneak up on you. They can kind of play a really good game at any time and end up winning. I don't think that's going to happen for them this week. I think Luke Fickell is a really good coach. Wisconsin kind of won a sloppy game the first week against a not great opponent, so I expect that they'll use that and get better. Their running backs are a beast, though. I know they have Braylon Allen over there, and then I forget the other back's name. Let me find it really quick. But he was really good too. I think he averaged like 10 yards a carry. Let me get that name really quick. But I think that their running backs are going to take over this game in their defense. And I think that Luke Fickell is, like I said, I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. He still has to, continue learning. Obviously, at a bigger program than Cincinnati, but he took Cincinnati to the playoffs, so you can't ask for much more out of a coach that's coaching in Cincinnati. All right, so that running back I was talking about, his name is Chez Malusi. 13 carries, 157 yards, 12.1 average per carry, and 2 touchdowns. And then, I mean, you have Braylon Allen going 17 carries, 141 yards, 8.3 yards a carry, and also 2 touchdowns. That running game with those two at Wisconsin is dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous with just Allen, and with that other guy stepping up the way he is, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat with having two running backs, so they're going to be fresh all the time. And their O line is always solid. Their O line is always dominant. So we'll see. I think that they win that game, though. Let me see here. I'm going to move on now. The next thing I wanted to talk about, so that was it for the Big Ten games. The next thing I wanted to talk about was just games of the week overall around college football. So the first game I'm looking at and what I think is going to be my game of the week is going to be Alabama versus Texas. Last year, these two teams played, and it was a really close game. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, familiar name for Ohio State fans, he got injured in the game, couldn't come back in, and I think they had Casey Thompson as the backup. I could be wrong about that, but anyway, he came in the game. The final score was, I think, let me see. I gotta look that up too. I should have done this before starting here. Let me see here. $20-19. Okay, so yeah, the final score was 20-19. It was a close game all the way. And then another name that Ohio State fans might remember is Ryan Watts. He was a corner transfer from Ohio State to Texas. He actually had a chance to kind of put that game away late in the game. He came off of a corner blitz, missed the tackle on Bryce Young, and Bryce Young got out for the play that ultimately got Alabama in the position they needed to be in to win the game. So again, that's my game of the week. I have an honorable mention on here: Notre Dame versus NC State. I could see this playing out like a game of the week type game, or I could also see Notre Dame blowing the doors off NC State. But NC State is another one of those teams that can sneak up on you. They can be really good. They didn't look great in week one. However, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Notre Dame has to go play at NC State, which is, anytime you're going on a road game to a Power 5 opponent, weird things can happen. Notre Dame's looking really good with Sam Hartman as their quarterback. And, obviously Marcus Freeman has the really solid defense over there. O-line is always good at Notre Dame. So they look like a really good team. I do think this is going to be their first real test. And, it's not like a real test in terms of like a college football playoff team. But it's better than what they've played against so far. So I can have that one as a sneaky good game. All right, so I'm going to move on now to just Ohio State conversation going forward. The first thing I wanted to do, just talking about the Youngstown State game, I'm going to give my hot takes. Everybody does like bold predictions. I call hot takes, whatever. Just some crazy things that could happen, but I'm going to throw them out there as predictions, and we'll see how it plays out. I'll revisit these next week. I didn't get my ones from last week, but next week around this time, I'll revisit and see how we did on these. So I'm going to say Ohio State has two running backs go over 120 yards. It doesn't happen very often at Ohio State, but I'm going to say that those two running backs are going to be Travion Henderson and Dallin Hayden. I think that this is going to be a game where you get a lot of people in the game, and Dallin needs reps because he didn't really get any after the first week. So I think that Trey is going to start the game off. He's going to play really well, and then Dallin will come in maybe in the second quarter, third quarter, something like that, and he will also look pretty dominant because I think he's a starting quality running back. Moving on from that one, the next one I have on here is Malik Hartford gets a pick six. Malik Hartford is a true freshman safety, got a lot of playing time last week in a game that was pretty close the whole time, so I expect to see him get a lot of reps this week. And he had his hands on a ball last week where he probably should have caught it, but he was going to the receiver to try to break the pass up, and the ball was over the receiver's head, so he tried to get his hands on it. But he couldn't haul it in. I think he's going to make a big play this week early in the game. I'm going to say like in the first quarter, maybe early in the second quarter, Malik Hartford gets a pick six. The next one that I have on here is going to be another defensive one. I have Kenyatta Jackson. Kenyatta Jackson is going to get 2 sacks in this game. Now, that's not super bold, but I think that he's been itching to get out there and pass rush someone. Everybody always talks about his first step, his get off. He's a freaky pass rusher. We haven't got to see that yet because the only game they played was against a triple option team. So I think he's going to really get after the quarterback this week, and 2 sacks, maybe a forced fumble, something like that, and he's going to really put his name on the map for this team. All right, and then the last one that I have here for hot takes, um, I don't know if this is even super like a very hot take, but I think that after this week, Ryan Day is going to name a starting quarterback. He's going to stop with all the games, all the oh well, I can't name a starter yet, but Kyle's going to start, and then Devin will play, all that stuff he keeps saying. I think after this week, he's going to say, look, this is our guy going forward, and that's just that. We'll get the other one in when we can, and I think that we'll have a starting quarterback officially, so I'm excited for that. I don't know if that's going to be Kyle or Devin. I honestly have no idea. We haven't seen Devin Brown play, but the conversations wouldn't be happening the way they're happening if Devin Brown wasn't as good, or at least as close to good if Devin Brown was not as good or close to as good as Kyle McCord. So we'll see how it plays out on the field. That was it for my hot take section for today. And then the last thing I want to do here, final score prediction for Ohio State versus Youngstown State. I'm going to say Ohio State wins this game 60-3. I think that the defense will give up a field goal late in the game, or maybe like something like last week where they get a turnover and ended up getting a field goal. But I think this defense is taking everything personal this year. They're not wanting to give up any points at all, regardless of who the opponent is. And I think that Ohio State needs to open up their offense this week. I definitely can see that happening, and we should see both quarterbacks out there with the first team. So it should be a good game to watch at least. It's probably not going to be a good game in terms of like who's going to win or who loses. But if you're a fan of Ohio State, you like seeing all the guys play and seeing what we have on the team. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Thanks for watching. As always, leave a like, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, and come back for more content. Peace out.